Hello, and welcome to today's webinar on Maptitude for Municipal Government. And today we're going to be focusing on economic development. And so today's webinar, we're going to actually use a case study. We're going to use Austin, Minnesota, and we're going to actually do a site selection analysis for a potential Jack in the Box fast food restaurant. Jack in the Box is big down like in Texas and on the West Coast, not as big in other parts of the country. But we're going to assume they want to penetrate into the Minnesota market and maybe locate a location here in Austin, Minnesota. So first we're going to do is create a new map and click OK in US City and choose Austin. And here it ranks the cities by population. So Austin, Texas obviously is the biggest Austin in the country by population. So Austin, Minnesota, we'll check that one. And we'll zoom to that location. And do this. And next we'll kind of turn off some layers we really don't need here, just so the regeneration of the screen is faster. And we'll turn census place off, landmark area off, water, boundaries, keep streets on. And we'll keep it on for what it is, and landmarks for now, and so forth. So next we need to bring in some data. So next we do have data I already have right now from the city of Austin, which is zoning data. So we're going to bring in some zoning data here. And we're going to add a layer here, add layer, and documents. And we're going to add a shapefile. And it's going to be zoning, and we're going to bring that in. Click OK. So this is the zoning. They actually have all the zoning by parcel versus actually a larger zoning district. A little awkward, but nonetheless, it works for today's lesson. And we're going to actually zoom in a little bit here on this and focus on there we want to focus on, which is about right there. And so we want to take this layer, we want to color code it by zoning designation. So we'll do a theme on here by field, and we'll color code it by class code. So these are the different zoning classes. We'll click on styles. So this will be if it's ag, apartments, commercial, industrial, residential. Because we're really focused today on the commercial designations. So we'll click off borders, and we'll change the color ramp. So commercial is orange, so it stands out. Style, and we'll make these, let's see here, 40% fill. And copy pattern, and so now we have our basic zoning here on the map. Next, we need to bring in some aerial photography to kind of get an idea of what locations we're going to actually use. We have some 3 choices for photography, so we can go to map, imagery, and we have 3 choices. One is we have Google satellite, which is okay, USGS aerial imagery, and we have USDA National Aerial Imagery Program imagery. The USDA and the Google Maps has the best resolution and zoom in capabilities. The USGS kind of fizzles out when you get to 1 to 5,000. So we'll use the USDA NIAP imagery and turn that later on here quickly. And as we're doing this, so when you look at a fast food restaurant, and in this case we're using Jack in the Box, if you go to most restaurants' websites, they usually have a franchise development page. And on that franchise development page, we'll have some of the site criteria in terms of what they're looking for in terms of a site. And for this one here, for Jack in the Box, they're looking for a site that's 25,000 square feet or greater, a population of 10,000 people within a 1 mile radius, daytime population or employment of 3,000 people within 1 mile, a median household income of 65,000, and traffic counts of over 25,000 within that 1 mile radius. So those are some things we're going to look at today. So for the zoning here, I'm actually going to turn off the border and click OK. And so it's a little clearer to read. And so we're interested in 3 locations here. And we'll zoom in a little tighter here. And for 3 locations. When you use aerial imagery, the regeneration time is a little bit longer. So if you're once you have your location selected and so forth, you probably could turn the aerial imagery off at that point. That way, regeneration occurs a little faster. But this is actually a live feed of aerial imagery from the internet as we speak, so there's a little bit of regen time. So next, we're going to go in here and add our locations. So they're interested again in lots that are 25,000 square feet or bigger. So we have a couple locations. One is we have one up here, and actually let's go bring in some exit numbers and traffic count data where we're added here. So let's go editing, actually let's go to layers and add layers. And I'm going to add some data from our caliper data sets. So I'll add a block group data, because we'll need that later. And we'll add that to the file, and we will add, let's go here, and we will add, traffic count data. This is from 2022. And we'll add that to the file. And then we'll add one more layer, which is so we can have a good discussion here. We will add highway exits. And we'll add that to the file. And as we're at it, let's go in and let me go save this out in case I lose the file. Save workspace and desktop. And make sure we have it on here. And we'll call this check. Okay, so now we have our layer, and we'll take the highway exits and do it nice and big so it's readable. So these are exit numbers. So this is I-90 through here, exit 177. It's going to be a location. I'm going to have another location near exit 179, and then one in the downtown area. So let's go in and add our 3 jack-in-the-box locations. So we'll go in here and we will go into Tools, Editing, New Layer, and we're going to create a point layer, and it's going to be called Jack-in-the-Box. And click OK, and click OK. And now we have our layer on, and now let's go in and add the 3 locations. So we have the first location we're going to add in is going to be up here off of exit 177. And this is kind of a fast food row up here off of I-90. So this is kind of where there's a cluster of other restaurants such as Arby's and things like that. So one of the options we're going to look at here is this a vacant parcel right here where my cursor is. So we're going to go to add point and add a point to that parcel right there as a potential location. And we'll click on green, and then we'll zoom back out to the previous screen. And this is color-coded orange, so we know it's commercial. We have another location right here at exit 179. This is a truck stop, and Jack-in-the-Box does do standalones and co-locations. So we're going to add another little point over here at exit 179 at the truck stop. So we'll add that and click green. And then we have a new location, another location we're going to locate downtown. And this is going to be kind of zoom in a little bit. And this is on the corner of Oakland and First Street in downtown. So we'll get that loaded on there. And this is the parcel right here. This is a big piece of land, and we're going to add that to the list as well. And we're going to put a point right here. Click green. And at this point here, I'm going to turn the imagery off so this regenerates faster. And I'm going to change the Jack-in-the-Box to a larger point so it can be seen. And we'll change it to 8. And we'll make it red. And we'll prevent overlapping labels and click close. So now it's bigger, and we'll zoom, click out of that, and we will zoom back to our old scale, and we will turn off the landmark layer. So as you can tell, now we have a location up here on exit 177, we have a location off of 179, and we have a location in downtown. Now the question is, which of these three locations is the best one for Jack in the Box? So there's a couple things we can do here. At this point here, let's take a look at our average daily traffic. And what I want to do on that one, I want to actually click on that, make that the active layer. I want to get rid of my color-coded theme, remove that. And I want to change this to a graduated symbol for my average annual average daily traffic, or AADT. Use the map wizard and click OK. And now it highlights actually in larger gray which roads have actually higher daily traffic. Now, this is for the whole United States. I could have clipped this to our geography here, and this would have actually probably would have been bigger. But for essence of time, I'm keeping the whole US as part of the layer on this one here for simplicity. Again, we have our three locations. So what we can do, we have a couple options here at this point. One is we can actually do 1 mile buffers around each location, and we can do some overlays and figure out what the demos are. Alternatively, if one wants to, one could also do drive time rings. So a similar drive time ring might be maybe a 5-minute drive time ring around a location. If you do select the drive time ring, and I'll just kind of quickly show you here, let's just take one location on our Jack in the Box. Take your Jack in the Box layer, and let's say you do a selection set, create a selection, you create one, say this one out here by exit 179, you click on it, and then what you do is you'd actually go to your icon up here called Create Drive Time Rings up here at the top, click on it, and then it would actually create the 5-minute ring around that drive time using the road network and the speeds on the road network. For today, and we may get to that later on here actually, what we'll do for today, we'll keep this simple, and we'll remove that selection set and drop that set. And what we're going to do today is we're actually going to use buffers. And that's the simplest way to do it here. So what we're going to do is, using this Jack in the Box layer as our working layer, we're going to go up here to create buffers on the icon, or alternatively, you can go down to Tools, Analysis, and select on Buffers. And so buffers around visible features, we have 3, location 1, 2, and 3. So we'll create a layer called buffers. Be fixed size, the size will be 1 mile. Miles will be the units. There'll be separate buffers because we want to do separate analysis on each one. If you leave that unclicked, then it all keeps it as one layer. So we want to connected. I'll just call it buffers. We could do demographics at this time, but actually we'll hold off and do that as an overlay. But you could do the demographics in your attribute table. But we'll just keep it as is and click on OK. So we now have our 3 buffers, 1 mile buffers. Let's go into that layer here and do a little color coding so it's easy to see. Next, we'll go to line, and we'll make that 1, make it black, and do a fill, solid fill. We'll do a gray, and we'll make that I don't know, 35%, and click close. So now you have the outlines here of your 3 different buffers. And what we'll also do here at this time for our buffers layer, we'll actually put in the ID, entity ID. Actually just double check here on our data view and make sure how that looking. And so IDs are 1, 2, 3. Entity IDs are okay. So we'll just use IDs. And so we'll go through here and label that using our ID, and we'll make that nice and big and readable. So for this one here, our ID number 1 is going to be our downtown location. ID number 2 for that buffer ring is going to be by the interstate. Exit 177 will be number 2, and exit 179 will be number 3. So we'll keep that up here on the screen. Do a quick save out so we don't lose it. So next we want to do a couple things. First, let's do a traffic analysis, and let's find out which one has the traffic counts the closest to 25,000 daily trips. So next thing we want to do is keeping our buffers as our current layer. Go to Tools, Analysis, Overlay. And we're going to be using the visible features, which is these 3 buffers. Now, alternatively, if you had a selection set of buffers, that would show up as well. We're not going to do a buffer size because it's already been embedded. For our data, we're going to be using, I could use the census overlay. We're going to be using the block group layer. I do not want to do a count. That's going to take a long time if we do. We'll create a report, and I want to actually edit the attribute table. So here we will have our ID. We'll copy that over so we have that on there. Area we're not too concerned about. Household median income, we want to see that averaged out. Income change, yeah, we'll average that out as well. Not just concerned about that one. Household median income, we'll add those up. Buying power, population change, we'll average that. And your other sections of demos. If there's certain ones you don't want, you can click on add or delete and delete those layers. You can delete a whole column. For instance, if you want nothing on the average column, you can just select all. And then now there's nothing on there. And so now I can go back to standard deviation. I can go back here to our average column, and I can go say I want household median income shown as an average and household median income. So get very flexible how you want your data weighted or what selections you want it on there. So we'll keep that on here for now. Click OK. So again, it's going to go back here and it's going to create us a report, and it's also going to create us a data view. So let's go in here and say OK. And it's going to go here and run the analysis. This should be fairly quick. Again, depending on the number of locations and the intricacy of the data, it may take a few minutes to do. It's right now running the analysis. And so what we do is we come up with the report. So it has the IDs and everything else. So for our location of number 1, which is value band number 1, we have a household median income of $43,000. In band number 2, which is off there by the interstate exit 177, we have a median income of $54,000. And in value band 3, over on the northeast by exit 179, we have a median household median income of $38,000. Let's see here, what else we have here. We're looking for a population. Band 1, we have a population of 12,540. And the other two bands, we have a 4,500 and 3,500 respectively. So obviously, band number 1 is actually looking pretty good for population. However, it's a little bit lower on the income. So this is going to be a mixed bag for Jack in the Box. Let's see what we have for daytime population. For location band number 1, we have 10,000 people in the downtown core. The other two bands, we have 3,600 and 6,000. They need a minimum of 3,000, so all locations meet that requirement, and so forth. And those all were 25,000 square foot parcels. So we'll kind of keep this in the back of our head here. Now we'll go here and we'll do another analysis, and we'll look at traffic counts. And then we'll start to kind of get a better idea here of how we're going to play this out. So next, we're going to do keep buffers on. I'm going to do tools, analysis, overlay. And this time around, instead of the block group here being our working layer, we're going to actually change that to average daily traffic. And we don't want to count the number of features. We do want to create a report, but we do want to edit the attributes. And on this one here, we're going to be looking at a few things. So we're going to look at the annual average traffic, add it, and we're going to look at the average. Truck traffic, we're not really too concerned about, so I'm not going to worry about that. But I do want to see future ADT added and what the average future ADT is, because we want to see if these areas are growing or not. So we'll click on OK. And let's go back to the attribute table. I think that's the only thing we have to worry. Yep, we're good there. And OK, great report. Everything's selected. Click OK. It's going to run the analysis and again create us a report as well. Anything that's also created will be the data view, and that's exportable to Excel or Google Sheets. So if you want to do additional analysis in those tools, you're more than welcome to. So we'll look at again value the traffic counts. So the overall ADT within that's 1 mile circle. So for location number 1, 367,000 trips. location number 2, 246,000, and location number 2, 222. And one of the things, actually, let me go back out of this here, because one of the things we did not do on that analysis, and we should have done, is we should have done a high ADT. And let's actually do that again. So we're going to go back here to Tools, Analysis, Overlay, and the traffic. Let's go back to Attributes, and let's do the high count of traffic and the high future ADT. Run that again. And we're good. Click OK. So Maptitude, one of the great features of this software is it's super forgiving. So if you go in there, just like we just did, if you forgot to include your high ADT, go back out, recheck those boxes, and you're right back into the game here. Again, that little going back in took us all of 2 minutes here. So again, annual daily traffic is shown here. A high traffic count is 24,422 on all three. Average for location number 1 is 4,000 trips, 6,000 trips for location number 2 right off the interstate, and for location 3 we're at 3,000, which tells me that there's maybe some industrial traffic there, and obviously traffic going westbound drops off at one of those other interchanges to do other activities, and so forth. And we have our future ADT, 26,000 for around location number 1. Location number 2 has 17,000, and location 3 has 21,000 trips. And now for Jack in the Box, they were looking at a traffic count of 25,000 trips per day. So all three locations probably are going to be pretty close to that, but I think our best location is going to be location number 1 for highest traffic counts within a 1 mile radius. So let's go back here and reduce that, and let's go back to the map and so forth. So I believe location number 1, I believe, let's go back to our buffers on that one and buffer report. And let's go to our buffer report here, which is our traffic count. And for location number 1 there, we had a population of 12,000, and they were looking for 10,000. Employment was 3, and that had a household median income though of 55,000. So location number 1 there downtown probably is the best location. If you look at all the variables, the only one it does not meet is the income level. Otherwise, if you're purely looking for an interstate location, location number 2 is the best one. Meets the income levels, but maybe a little shy on the population numbers. But again, if you're pulling off traffic levels coming in off the interstate and through traffic versus local traffic, that might be okay. So location 1 and 2 are probably the first and second choices. Location 3 is probably, of the 3 choices here, probably the one the Jack in the Box would not consider at this time based upon this analysis. So going back here, the other thing we can do on here is we can do a drive time ring. So let's actually look at that here quickly. And we're just going to do a real quick one here. We're going to use location number 1. So I'll go back here to Jack in the Box, do a selection set 1, and select that and do 1. And we're going to do a quick drive time ring. And we're going to do a quick one, one ring of 5 minutes. Be a separate ring. And we'll do, click on that. We'll do some demographics. Actually, we don't care about that. And we'll do driving speeds. We'll just leave this at there when it's preloaded in as average. But let's say you're doing emergency medical services, you may want to do faster, things like that. Click OK. And we're going to do a quick drive time spring report here as well. This one, and we're going to use the actually, you know what? We will do block group and no feature count. And all features were good there. Okay. And do inbound, so people are going to be coming in. And we're okay there. And I'll do a quick ring there, and we'll see what comes up. And so Maptitude is now going to go and use that location and actually use the road network and do a bunch of interpolation here, looking at the road speeds and stuff to see what the 5-minute drive time would be around this particular location here. And we'll also get an idea what the demographics are. Depending on the speed of your computer, this may take as fast as 30 seconds to a minute, or maybe take 3 to 4 minutes, just depending on the number of rings you're doing and the number of locations you have selected. I've just selected one location, a 5-minute ring, so this should be pretty quick here in a couple minutes. But obviously, if you do many more rings and locations, it could take 5-6 minutes to do the interpolation here. And again, when you're doing these analyses, you do not always need zoning data. Generally, if you're using imagery and you see other fast food restaurants and you're doing a location for a fast food restaurant, you see one next door, it's probably fairly safe to say that the zoning is going to be the same. But again, bringing in the zoning layer, most cities and jurisdictions have this available on their websites, and it's a shapefile or something you can just bring on in and include into your analysis. And adds a level of enrichment to the data sets. So here we are, we're interpolating the points for about 90% here. So this should be done here in about 30 seconds, I hope. We should have a map, and here we go. So we do have this purple layer here, kind of looks like an amoeba, is our 5-minute drive time ring. So we will click this out. Actually, let's still actually calculate our demographics here on this one. Nope, we'll keep it. And we now have a drive time ring. Let me take that drive time ring on here and change the coloring of that so it's easy to see. Change that to style. And we're going to make that, let's see here. I'll make it hot pink and make the outline 60%. And click OK. And so it shows up here as this pink boundary. We'll turn off the zoning here so that doesn't cloud it up, and so forth. And then if we go to our drive time rings and do our data view, let's see, I have our 5-time ring here and so forth. So with that, let me go back and quickly with that data there and go back to the map. Quickly on the drive time rings, let's go to Tools, Analysis. I'll do a quick overlay and use block group. Do not do a count. We already have our report in our data sets. Create a report and click OK. And Maptitude using the drive time ring, we'll do a quick report here. So they're saying within that drive time ring, we have a household income of 58,000. We have a population of 16,000 people, daytime of 13, and so forth. So again, you can do this analysis both with the buffers, or you can do it with the drive time ring. Drive time rings are actually very accurate, very good, but they do take a little bit longer to do. And it's usually easiest, I found over the years, to do the rings first, and then come back in and do an overlay of your data sets and analysis, and it's just a little cleaner, a little faster. So with that, it's half hour is up, and so with that, I would like to say thank you for attending today's webinar on Maptitude for Economic Development. And one of our great tools here, we were able to figure out for Jack in the Box what location might be the best one for them at this time if they were to locate a location in Austin, Minnesota. So again, thank you for attending today's webinar.